From a woman justifying kicking an officer multiple times because she's the daughter of an FBI agent, to a mother who had to call 911 on her own son for his well-being. Here are 7 instances when men in blue were faced with unexpected situations while arresting kids in the presence of their parents. Law enforcement father would come to her rescue from the consequences of her illegal actions. On November 3, 2023, while patrolling in Ohio, an officer's attention was caught by a Ford Explorer SUV making an illegal turn, causing the officer to brake suddenly. When the vehicle came to a halt, the female driver, daughter of an ex-law enforcement officer, persistently made excuses, asserting her perceived rightness in the situation.
Hello. So the reason why I stopped, you made that right turn from Pearl to Bagley. You met her at the red light, and I'm not sure if you realized, but you almost struck me.
I apologize. No, I did not.
Okay. You got driver's license on you?
I actually don't have anything on. I was going up to work. I didn't bring anything with me today.
No big deal. Just take time of your info. Yeah, you're supposed to treat it. Well, that right there, you can't even make a right turn at this time, at the red light.
I started working at this office, so I'm not really used to this area right now. I'm so sorry.
Despite the officer's efforts to explain the situation, she couldn't recall making an illegal turn. And to make matters worse, she didn't even have her driver's license with her.
So where are you heading right now?
I'm going back home. I live out there, so I'm heading back home.
Where's your job at?
It's not right there. So, it's in there.
Is there anything illegal inside this vehicle? Who smokes weed in here?
It's just my car. It's just my car.
So nothing illegal? Can I look inside? Again, I apologize. I was just heading home. Like, I really didn't know that I can't turn right there. I'm 100% aware of it now. So the reason why I'm asking is because I do smell weed.
I apologize.
And
I really didn't mean to. Like, I had no idea. I'll be super aware of the intersection from now on. I'll be way more cautious.
Give me a favor, because we're going to cause traffic back up here. Can you just pull into that street right here? I'll just make a right. Sure.
As the officer detected the odor of weed, he requested permission to search the vehicle, but she flatly rejected the request. However, that wouldn't deter the officer from carrying out his duty.
Step out. Huh?
Please come to me.
I have not written you anything.
I know,
I'm just trying to be...
I also know my rights, and I don't think I have to.
You do. So don't make it hard.
I really, please. I just want to go home.
I'm asking you to step out nicely.
Just go home.
I'm asking you to step out nicely.
Can you get your name and badge number?
It's Officer Nasser, 732.
Really
Come on out.
feel like I have so much hard.
She outright refused to step out of the vehicle, and to add to the situation, she demanded the officer's name and badge number. But wait till you'll find out the reason for such inquiry.
Okay, so now what?
I'm not comfortable with you searching my vehicle. My dad's not far. I'm asking him to come here and help out as well.
Okay, well, I can smell the marijuana too as I'm up here. And so...
It's not a crime.
It is. So if an officer tells you you have to step out of the vehicle, you have to step out of the vehicle. That's a lawful order, okay? So
That's not true.
I'm being very nice and patient.
Name and badge number really quick?
Oh yeah. If you comply with me, I'll give you whatever you want. But right now,
I'm not going to comply with anything that I don't know if
You're
you're an
not.
actual officer of the law until you give me your name and badge number, sir.
oh, are you a sovereign citizen?
I would
that-
like to know your name and badge number.
Patrolman Venus badge 722. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So you've been given a lawful order to exit the vehicle 3 times by me. Okay.
This is the first time that you've actually asked me.
Okay.
So,
Can you please exit the vehicle?
I would like to wait.
Can you
until-
please exit the vehicle?
I would like to wait.
She rolled up her window and refused to comply with the officer's orders, insisting that her dad was on his way to assist her.
Please step out of the vehicle.
I would still like to wait.
Okay. If you continue this, you're going to be arrested for obstruction. Okay?
And that would be an unlawful arrest, and you can deal with that in court.
Good luck with that in court.
Okay.
Yeah, so listen, I'm going to tell you, if you do not comply, if you do not get out within the next 30 seconds, I'm breaking this window and you're being drug out. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? If you do not comply, I've given a lawful order for you to exit the vehicle 10 times. If you do not comply within 30 seconds, I will break the windshield and drag you out of the car. Do you understand that? I don't think I can make that any more clear to you. You must exit the vehicle. okay? You can post this, you can think you're cool, posting it on the internet. You are wrong. You are wrong, okay? So you must exit the vehicle. You can peacefully exit the vehicle.
Since she refused to comply with any of the officer's orders, there was no alternative left but to take further action.
You can please show up here. Okay, I'm gonna break the window if you do not exit the vehicle.
Officer, I need a supervisor here before you take those kind of extreme measures.
Ready?
No, sir, please. I need a supervisor on the scene. Officer, I need a supervisor on the scene. I need a supervisor on the scene.
Yeah, we got one.
I need a supervisor on the scene.
Hands behind your back right now. Hands behind your back right now. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Let me get this out your hands.
I'm not letting go of that.
Okay, I'm going to put it on top of the
My
car.
safety and your safety.
You are being recorded by 3 of our cameras. And now you're under arrest for obstruction. How's that, huh?
Even after being put in cuffs and arrested, she still had hopes that her dad would help her get out of trouble.
It was actually my father right there.
Okay.
I was unaware that I couldn't turn right there. I just started recently working with him in his office.
Okay.
He's a private investigator. Been in criminal justice for over 30 years, and so.
Hello.
Hi, I'm her dad.
Yeah, let you explain that, yeah.
So, I'm former law enforcement, private investigator, now I have an office.
Yeah, should explain that as well.
She works for me, so she called me, she was up at the office. I don't know what the fuck she did, but her boyfriend's one of these goddamn sovereign, you know.
Okay.
Well, I yell at him all the time, and so that's why I just.
Yeah. I mean, we can
If
see.
you guys can release her, great.
Okay.
That'll be, that's my car. It's insured under my name.
Okay.
I'd be happy to, but I'll make sure she goes to court or whatever she got to
Okay.
do. I don't know if that's hard on me or not.
Yeah, we could see, just from talking to her in a little bit of the back of the car here, you could see the tinges of the sovereign citizen, or at least the belief. Okay. One of those came out of the car when we actually opened up the passenger side door. So.
Her motive for asking about the officer's name and badge number was to file a complaint with her father, who was also in law enforcement. Even though she was released to her father as he requested, she was later charged with obstructing official business and open container, in addition to receiving a traffic citation for the illegal turn.
10 years ago, near the bustling Staten Island ferry terminal on a sweltering July 17th, Eric Garner found himself in a tense struggle with NYPD officers. His alleged crime: selling untaxed cigarettes, known as Lucy's. Among the officers was Daniel Pantaleo, whose attempt to restrain the 43-year-old led to a fatal outcome, a chokehold that ended Garner's life. In his final moments, Garner's desperate cry, "I can't breathe," echoed through the air, resonating far beyond that Staten Island sidewalk. It became a rallying call for the burgeoning Black Lives Matter movement that swept across the nation in 2014. Months later, a Staten Island grand jury's decision not to indict Pantaleo sparked outrage and ignited widespread protests against both the NYPD and then New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Overnight, hundreds of people pouring into New York's Times Square to protest the grand jury's stunning decision. In Grand Central Terminal, hundreds more laying down on the floor in what they called a die-in. Others laying down on a New York City highway.
This is stupid!
Police officers arresting dozens, forearm around Garner's throat and wrestling him to the ground. Garner, a father of 6, pronounced dead at a nearby hospital just minutes later.
Despite a prolonged federal investigation that yielded no charges, the city's Civilian Complaint Review Board pressed forward. Finally, in August 2019, NYPD Commissioner James O'Neill made the decision to fire Pantaleo, a move met with mixed reactions, intensifying tensions within law enforcement ranks and the community alike. Yet, amidst the debates and legal battles, one fact remained starkly clear. Pantaleo was not the sole officer implicated in Garner's tragic death, as Ramsey Orta's widely circulated cell phone footage vividly captured. In the months leading up to Eric Garner's tragic death, the NYPD had been focusing on Bay Street near the ferry terminal, where untaxed cigarette sales were reportedly thriving. Chief of Department Phil Banks had taken notice and ordered a crackdown, hoping to curb the illicit activity. Little did anyone know, Banks himself would later face allegations tied to an untaxed liquor scheme, now serving as a prominent deputy mayor in the Adams administration. In March 2014, Lieutenant Christopher Bannon from the 120th Precinct began monitoring the area closely. Over the next few months, Garner, a familiar face to law enforcement due to previous arrests for selling loosies, was apprehended twice for the minor offense. These interactions set the stage for the tragic events that would unfold. On that fateful July 17th, Lieutenant Bannon and Sergeant Danan Saminath dispatched officers Pantaleo and Justin D'Amico to 200 Bay Street. Both officers were acquainted with Garner from prior encounters. D'Amico, later questioned by the CCRB, recalled Bannon's instructions to make an arrest upon observing illegal activity. Oddly, Pantaleo and D'Amico claimed they barely spoke during their journey to Bay Street, discussing only what was on the radio. They parked their vehicle more than 300 feet away from the target location. From this distance, D'Amico insisted he witnessed Garner conducting a transaction involving loosies, while Pantaleo argued his view was obstructed by a nearby vehicle. When confronted, Garner expressed frustration, declaring he was tired of being harassed. "I'm tired of it. This stops today." Backup was called, and it was Pantaleo who initiated the fatal encounter. In a span of about 10 seconds, he applied a chokehold on Garner, who pleaded, "I can't breathe," 11 times. Even after Garner was handcuffed by D'Amico and other uniformed officers, Pantaleo maintained his hold, claiming he needed to prevent Garner from biting. The incident, captured on video and widely circulated, sparked outrage and demands for sweeping changes in law enforcement practices. As Garner lay motionless, none of the officers rushed to his aid. Later, D'Amico would claim he thought Garner was feigning unconsciousness, a stance that would fuel further controversy. Both Pantaleo and D'Amico admitted they chose not to use pepper spray, fearing it would affect each other. D'Amico also insisted he never heard Garner plead, "I can't breathe." At the chaotic scene, Pantaleo insisted to Sergeant Saminath that he had witnessed Garner selling a single cigarette, and instead of using a chokehold, he had simply pulled Garner down by his shirt, a statement that would later be contradicted by evidence. In the immediate aftermath, Sergeant Saminath texted Lieutenant Bannon that Pantaleo and D'Amico had approached Garner to make an arrest, claiming Garner had resisted and possibly gone into cardiac arrest, potentially dead on arrival. They saw him selling a loosie, Saminath's text continued. But when Garner resisted, Danny tried to grab him and they both fell. "Not a big deal." Lieutenant Bannon callously responded to Saminath's distorted account, insisting they were simply effecting a lawful arrest. This statement would later cause outrage during the 2019 departmental trial. After leaving the scene, D'Amico returned to the precinct and filed inaccurate paperwork, falsely claiming no force had been used. Following the viral spread of Ramsey Orta's cell phone video, Pix11 reported disparities between police reports and statements from Sergeant Saminath and Sergeant Kizzy Adonis, who had expressed doubts about the severity of Garner's condition. Adonis faced disciplinary action for failure to supervise, losing 20 vacation days, while Saminath faced no charges. Officers Mark Ramos and Craig Furlani, who assisted in restraining Garner, also escaped penalties. One man who didn't completely escape punishment, though, was Daniel Pantaleo. In 2019, after years of public outcry and legal battles, Daniel Pantaleo's career with the NYPD came to a decisive end. Commissioner James P. O'Neill's announcement to fire Pantaleo marked a pivotal moment, arriving 5 years after Eric Garner's tragic final words reverberated across the nation. Pantaleo had clung to his position despite calls from Garner's family and supporters for accountability. The Staten Island District Attorney and the Justice Department had opted not to press charges against him. O'Neill's decision followed just over 2 weeks after a police judge found Pantaleo guilty of violating the NYPD's ban on chokeholds. The commissioner, visibly moved, offered a nuanced explanation that balanced empathy for both Garner and Pantaleo. He really talked about the complexity of the situation, expressing personal anguish over the choice he had to make. O'Neill admitted he might have acted similarly to Pantaleo under similar circumstances, while also noting Garner's refusal to comply during the incident. Yet, he emphasized that Pantaleo's failure to release his hold on Garner's neck after bringing him down contributed to a fatal asthma attack. The unintended consequence of Mr. Garner's death, O'Neill stated, must carry its own consequence. He concluded that Pantaleo could no longer effectively serve as a police officer in New York City. As O'Neill delivered his decision, his voice trembled with the weight of its implications. He acknowledged it would likely disappoint Garner's family, fail to satisfy calls for justice, and possibly strain relations within the police force.
Testimony, looked at the video a number of times. I know what the definition of a chokehold is.
Starting off with a Maryland police officer, Francesco Marlet, who dared to kiss a woman outside of his patrol car on the street in the daytime. In the video, filmed by Nelson Ochoa, the pair can be seen having the time of their life, with the officer wrapping his arms around the girl regardless of the children who can be heard playing in the background.
Nos gustan los pies a nosotros. Mira, pisando estamos.
The officer is not satisfied, so now they decide to have some privacy, and they get into the backseat of the patrol car.
¿Cómo andás? Vaya, para el carro, mira, para atrás la lleva, mira, ve. Ey, no, mira. Ey, yo. Quítate, man, ¿verdad? Quítate, Ey, yo.
The video quickly went viral on TikTok, causing the Prince George's County Police Department to suspend the officer as they continue to investigate the matter. He will definitely know his responsibility better than ever. Despite the unprofessionalism, this looked consensual, but the next cop is about to abuse his power in an unexpected way.
On the morning of April 4th, 2015, at around 9:30 a.m., Officer Michael Slager stopped a man named Walter Scott in the parking lot of an auto parts store on Remount Road. Scott was driving a 1991 Mercedes with a broken third brake light, and according to his brother, he was on his way to the store for repairs. The dash cam footage from Slager's patrol car shows the officer approaching Scott's vehicle, having a brief conversation with him, and then returning to his patrol car. Suddenly, Scott exited his car and began to run, prompting Slager to chase him on foot. The pursuit led them into a lot behind a pawn shop on Rivers Avenue, where a physical struggle ensued. During the altercation, Slager deployed his taser, striking Scott. Despite this, Scott managed to flee, and Slager drew his .45 caliber Glock 21 handgun, firing 8 shots at Scott from behind. Scott was struck 5 times, 3 in the back, once in the upper buttocks, and once in the ear. Forensic pathologist Lee Marie Tormos later testified that the fatal shot entered Scott's back, piercing his lungs and heart. Immediately after the shooting, Slager radioed a dispatcher saying, "Shots fired and the subject is down. He grabbed my taser." At the time he fired, Scott was about 15 to 20 feet away and running away. In his initial report, before the video evidence surfaced, Slager claimed he feared for his life because Scott had allegedly taken his taser, prompting him to shoot because he felt threatened. A male co-worker and friend of Scott, who was a passenger in Scott's car, was briefly detained in the back of a police vehicle following the incident. A toxicology report later revealed that Scott had cocaine and alcohol in his system at the time of his death, although the cocaine levels were less than half of what is typically seen in impaired drivers. Scott did not test positive for alcohol, as testified by Tormos. Faden Santana, an eyewitness to the shooting of Walter Scott, captured the entire incident on his phone. Initially, Santana was hesitant to share the video, fearing retaliation. However, he grew outraged when he saw that the police report did not match what he had witnessed. In an MSNBC interview, Santana revealed his concerns, saying, "I felt that my life, with this information, might be in danger. I thought about erasing the video and just getting out of the community, Charleston, and living someplace else. Santana eventually decided to share the video with Scott's family through a Black Lives Matter activist, and it soon reached the news media. According to Santana, after a struggle during which Officer Michael Slager used his taser, Scott was merely trying to escape the taser. Santana emphasized that Scott never grabbed the taser of the police. He never got the taser. The video starkly contradicted police accounts. After Scott was shot and fell to the ground, Slager approached him, repeatedly telling him to put his hands behind his back before handcuffing him as he lay face down. Although police reports claimed officers performed CPR on Scott, the video showed no such attempts. Instead, it captured Slager running back to the initial scuffle's location, picking something up, and then dropping the object, likely the taser, beside Scott's body.
Oh shit. Shit. Oh shit.
Another officer, Clarence W. Habersham Jr., also appeared in the video. He donned medical gloves and seemed to examine Scott, but the lack of immediate medical assistance was evident in the footage. Critics, including the Reverend Al Sharpton and the National Bar Association, demanded the prosecution of Clarence Habersham, the second officer in the video. They accused him of attempting a cover-up and questioned whether he had left out important details from his report. Habersham claimed he attempted to render aid to the victim by applying pressure to the gunshot wounds, but the video showed little effort to help Scott after the shooting. David Ayler, Slager's original lawyer, withdrew from the case just hours after the video's release, citing attorney-client privilege and not providing a specific reason. On April 8th, the North Charleston city manager announced that the NCPD had fired Slager, though they would continue to pay for his health insurance since his wife was pregnant. Mayor Keith Summey stated that they had ordered 150 additional body cameras so that every police officer would be equipped with one. A GoFundMe campaign to raise money for Slager's defense was quickly shut down by the site, citing privacy concerns and a violation of terms and conditions. Walter Scott's funeral took place on April 11th at the WORD Ministries Christian Center in Somerville, about 20 miles from North Charleston. His death further ignited the national debate on race and policing, connecting it to other controversial police shootings of black men across the country. The Black Lives Matter movement protested Scott's death. In response, a bill in the South Carolina State House was renamed in Scott's honor to equip more police officers with body cameras. The Senate allocated $3.4 million to fund the purchase of 2,000 cameras for officers in the state. In May 2016, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation released a short documentary film titled Frame 394 about the shooting. The documentary follows Daniel Vauchart, a Canadian cinematographer and image stabilization specialist who discovered evidence in frame 394 of the video that challenged the accepted narrative of the incident. Initially, Vauchart aimed to use the footage to indict Slager, convinced it showcased police corruption. However, upon closer inspection, he noticed that as Slager reached for his firearm, Scott appeared to be holding the taser. This observation potentially supported Slager's claim of fearing for his life. Vauchart shared this stabilized video with Slager's lawyer, Andy Savage, which played a significant role in Slager's trial. During the trial, Slager testified that he did not realize the taser had fallen behind him when he fired the fatal shots. After reviewing the video of Walter Scott's shooting, the police department acted swiftly. On April 7th, Officer Michael Slager was arrested and charged with murder. By June 8th, a South Carolina grand jury indicted him on this charge, which was the only one presented to them. Slager remained in jail without bail for nearly 9 months before being released on January 4, 2016, on a $500,000 bond. He was placed under house arrest until his trial, which started on October 31, 2016. However, on December 5th, the trial ended in a mistrial due to a deadlocked jury, with 11 of the 12 jurors favoring conviction. A retrial was set for August 2017, but state charges were dropped when Slager pleaded guilty to a federal charge. On May 11, 2016, Slager was indicted on federal charges, including violating Scott's civil rights and unlawfully using a weapon during the commission of a crime. He was also charged with obstruction of justice for claiming Scott was moving toward him with the taser when he fired. Slager pleaded not guilty, with a trial scheduled for May 2017. He faced up to life in prison if convicted. Then on May 2, 2017, Slager entered a plea agreement, pleading guilty to deprivation of rights under color of law. In return, the charges of obstructing justice and using a firearm during a crime of violence were dismissed. Finally, when the pages turned to December 7, 2017, U.S. District Judge David C. Norton sentenced Slager to 20 years in prison, ruling that the appropriate underlying offense was second-degree murder, despite the defense's argument for voluntary manslaughter. With no parole in the federal system, Slager is expected to serve around 18 years after credit for time served. He began his sentence in February 2018 at the Federal Correctional Institution, Englewood in Colorado. An appeal for a reduced sentence was denied in January 2019. As of 2023, Slager, identified as Federal Bureau of Prisons, BAR 312092-171, is still at FCI Englewood with an earliest possible release date of August 16, 2032. In mid-2021, he sought a reduction of his sentence, claiming his defense was incompetent and that he had not been involved in the plea negotiations. The court, however, upheld his sentence.